Okay, so we finally got Sparkla in the game. The second 5-star Terra Vanguard in Stella Sora. Because she is the second Terra Vanguard, some comparison is always expected. Prior to this launch, I had the expectation that Sparkla was the beginning of the end for Gerie. However, some initial tests with Sparkla replacing Gerie in the Nazuna Main Mark Team, this does not appear to be the case. It seems like Gerie can survive for some more time in Stella Sora.
Oh my god, I almost died! No.
So when everyone saw Sparkla, myself included, we saw Sparkla's homing support skill, the expectation was clear. A mark trigger unit that clears all the issues that Gerie has. Gerie is a top-tier mark trigger unit, and the mark team, being one of the strongest teams in the game, an improvement to this team would have made the mark team that much more stronger, would have made clearing content that much more easier. With some initial testing, it does seem that although Sparkla does have the homing support skill that follows enemies around, making it easier for her to trigger those terror marks, she doesn't seem to severely outpace Gerie as a mark trigger unit. This was shocking to me. My dear Gerie can survive another day. Granted, Sparkla does have the main slot team as well, although I am still testing her in the main slot team, and that team might actually turn out to be stronger and better than the Gerie Mark team. The only reason I made this video, and I am happy about it, is that Gerie can have a team where she can call her own and be good in. So a bit of a background behind this is that I am a Gerie main, and I really do love the Gerie. I was kind of worried that she would be gone after this and she would be faced with the bench. So I know what you're currently thinking. This guy is just a simp who praises the Mark team regardless of all the flaws that the Gerie Mark team has. So I'll stop you right there. No, I do not think that this team is the be-all and end-all of teams. In fact, to be honest, the team can be quite annoying to use effectively if the game mode isn't finally echoing. So why finally echoing? If you have a situation where the boss can dash around multiple times, the team can be very annoying. Yes, I'm looking at you, Boss Blitz, which is basically the current Boss Blitz. I don't know why that thing moves around so much. Now, I'm a person who loves tinfoil head theories, and nothing can convince me that the devs didn't put a moving boss in the right side of Boss Blitz right now to shaft Gerie and promote Sparkla. That boss be dashing around like no one's business. And coincidentally, it just so happens to dash whenever I throw all of my skills down. It's a skill issue, I know, but I expected that Sparkla would solve this. Getting back on topic though, I am at a point where I am a bit worried about Sparkla. From a power perspective, that is. Remember the disclaimer up there. I've yet to test Sparkla in the main slot, so perhaps she is very good there. Perhaps she outdamages the Terra Mark team a lot. However, seeing that she does not outright dominate Gerie in the Mark team, I know free-to-play players like myself are probably considering skipping this unit. Well, I can't skip for content purposes obviously, and she already took me to 120 spark, RIP me. However, this brings into the question how worthwhile pulling her may be. We cannot run away from the fact that this is a gacha game. And due to that, we operate in a space where resource management is key. You want to get the units that will be a major improvement to the overall team you play. Many have looked at the potential upcoming Ignis unit and have thought to themselves, perhaps I should skip for the Ignis unit. Looking at the banners and assuming that Ignis actually is the unit that's coming, people are starting to have their doubts, especially if you started the game after the Fuyuka. The thought of getting Fuyuka on her rerun might actually get you hyped. This is assuming that with the Ignis banner upcoming, if it is upcoming that is, Fuyuka will get a rerun as well. I know the Fuyuka skippers have been regretting it ever since she dominated everything for a couple of Boss Blitz resets and finally echoing. Assuming we are getting a better support for her, which is a tall ask given how good the support she has already is. I can understand people being skeptical about dumping all their pulls on Sparkla so early. However, the goal of gacha gaming, or should I say the goal of gaming in its totality, is to have fun while doing it. You want to play the characters you enjoy. You want to use the units you enjoy, the teams you enjoy, and the characters you like. So if you like the type of unit that Sparkla is from a looks perspective, from a gameplay perspective, from a story perspective, you shouldn't even be worried about this. Just pull her and have fun. She will clear everything in the game without worries. Now that is another thing that I do praise Stella Sora for. This game is really free-to-play friendly and it is casual friendly as well. You do not need to sweat to clear all the endgame content in the game. It is quite easy to do so, and because of that, you really should be pulling for units you really like. However, if you are worried about her overall power level and you are looking for a Gerie replacement in the Mark team, I would hold off for now. Honestly, I do not act like some people's fun isn't getting on those leaderboards, isn't building your units to the utmost efficiency, ensuring that you are ranking in Boss Blitz, ensuring that your scores are quite high, and that's how you have fun. I respect that, and I know that's how people have fun, which is why I advise you to hold off if you're a person who's looking for power and who's looking for upgrades to current teams. At least until we have some more testing on her overall power in the main slot. Until we know that, okay, she's a really good improvement. But here's my 2 cents. Every developer wants to make money. So I do not believe that for 1 second that the developers would release a unit that is objectively worse than the previous character in every way. This just won't happen. And believing that they would do such a thing is setting yourself out for disappointment. So I honestly believe that Sparkla will find her own slot where she works best and is actually a Gerie upgrade. Even if we look at the past history of the game, where there is a Vanguard that has existed and a new one has been released, the new one has always been a replacement and a better unit compared to the old one. You look at Nanoha, she was replaced like no one's business. I know Amber was also replaced by the Fuyuka, but she was a 4-star, so that was always expected. But anomalies do exist, and perhaps Sparkla and Gerie is an anomalous situation. Many could argue that, even though she doesn't leave Gerie in the dust when it comes to mark damage, the pure idea of a unit that will trigger marks through homing is already enough of an upgrade. Like you can finally just turn off your brain and let the auto do its thing, which is actually a valid take. However, I think she has a shot at being the vanguard of the team. She can bring herself to being on the main slot and send Nazuna back into the support slot where she belongs. Now, if you watched my previous video on whether this is the end of Gerie, one of my wishes was that Terra does not get relegated to a team that has a vanguard on the main slot. The reason I wanted this was due to the fact that Terra is the only team that has a unique team formation right now. I know that there's also the Nazuna Main team with versatiles on the support slot, but if you notice, there is no other team with a vanguard in the support slot dealing damage. In fact, there is no other team with a vanguard in the support slot at all. So Terra was unique in this. Terra was holding the ground as a team with some difference. I was hoping it would remain the same, but however, it does not seem like it will be the case. I was hoping this would be the case even if my favorite unit in the game would get benched. I don't lose either way if Gerie continues being used in the Terra Mark team, as I get to enjoy her more while still being able to use Sparkla in the main slot if the boss is one that decides to move around quite often. Anyway, that is my view on the Sparkla and Gerie situation. Granted, more testing is required before I can be confident in my statements. So, let me know in the comments, how have you found the Sparkla banner? How have you found her power to be? Did the potential Ignis unit upcoming scare you away completely from her banner? Let me know down below, and I shall see you in the next one. Cheers.